flour back in the kitchen again. Today I'm feeling something of a soup. What do you think we should make? Something with carrots. Broccoli cheddar soup. You know, let's make this broccoli cheddar soup. Let's put it in a big bread bowl. You know, like a really big. You put it in small ones, but let's go for a big bread. Yeah, let's get that cracking. Alright, flour. So if we're gonna make this broccoli cheddar soup, the first thing we need to do, get some butter, get some onions. Luckily I have an onion right here. Alright. And we're gonna go for a really fine dark. Alright, so whenever chopping onions, let's say this was whole, you're gonna cut down the middle. You're going to cut that down the middle, so you have 4 onions. Right. And as you see, I'm cutting it directly straight. And depending how far away these cuts are, see how fine those onions are going to be. A couple slides on the side. Alright. So when we chop down, you see how fine those are? Alright. Now that we got most of our onion chopped up, we're just gonna put this on a medium heat. Chop up the last onion. Alright. So we're gonna get about a tablespoon of butter. Make sure all these onions get cooked until they're tender, and then we'll go on to the next step. Alright, now that our butter is pretty much melted, I'm just gonna stir those onions so they all get a little bit of that butter, that buttery goodness. Alright, let those go until they're translucent. And we're just finishing up our cheddar. Alright, got our 2 cups of cheddar, put that aside. Let's prep our other ingredients. Alright, we got our carrots, chop the bottoms. Alright, so we got our carrots. Now we're going to do our broccoli. Now let's transfer these carrots to this bowl. Nice. So for our broccoli, we're just going to use the florets and a little bit of the stems. Alright, next thing is just to break them apart. Alright, so we broke up our broccoli. Just going to give them a rough chop. While that's going, we're going to add a 1/4 cup of butter. Let that melt down. Looking good for prepping our time. Alright, flour, now that our onions are basically tender, now we're going to add some flour to that butter that we just did. Whisk that in there, create a little bit of room. Make sure there's no clumps, so whisk very well. Once well incorporated, we have 2 cups of chicken stock. We're going to add 1 cup. Mix that. Alright, once well incorporated, add the rest of your chicken stock. Quick stir. Alright, flour, now that's been cooking for a little bit. We're going to slowly add our half and half, or whisking constantly. Now, whisking constantly while you're pouring it is a very important step. Make sure you always whisk like this, or else you're going to curdle the half and half. Once that's all added in, we're just going to bring that up to a slight simmer, and then we'll add our vegetables. Just so you guys have a better idea of what I'm whisking. You see all those onion particles in there? Flavor. Alright, flour, now that's been simmering for a little bit, we're just going to add our carrots and our broccoli. We're just going to cook them until they're tender. Gotta mix. And it is going to thicken up, especially when we put the cheddar in, so don't worry if it looks too thin for you guys right now. Let that go. And to that, we're going to add some salt, cayenne, garlic powder, mustard powder, and some black pepper. Get some seasoning. Ooh, that smells so good. I know, flour, you want to try some already. All good things take patience. Alright, now that our soup's cooking for a little bit, just gonna get our blender. Blend it up. Looking pretty good. Not super chunky, but it's manageable bite enough chunks where I would consider this a creamy soup, yet it still has a little bit of a homemade kind of taste. Alright, so whenever that's done, we're gonna get our bread bowl, which is almost as big as a pot. Hollow that out, stick that whole thing in there. And at this point, I think we're able to add the cheddar. So when adding the cheddar cheese, add like a handful at a time. Stir that in until it's melted, and keep going until this whole 2 cups is in the soup. And remember, whenever adding this cheese, as one of the last steps, take it off the heat. You want to cook that cheese too fast, or else it'll just look really ugly and make the soup not inedible, but unpresentable. Like I said, just handfuls at a time. Just stir it in there until it melts. Throw another handful until you're done with the 2 cups. Alright, so we're on the last bit of cheese. Throw that in there. And as you can see, it did thicken up quite a bit. And that's because of the cheese and how we added it instead of just adding it all at once. Alright, so we're on our last step, which is to prep our bread bowl for a soup. Just gonna cut a circle. And I'm using a big sourdough bowl. Like I said, this is only like a fine, or else I would use a small one, but I think this is perfect. Alright, so we got the top off. Let's get the excess, put that aside. Alright, now we're just going to hollow it out. Just be patient, flour. This takes time. You don't want to hollow it up too much, but just enough where when you do put the soup in there, after we do bake the bread, that it fills up most of the bowl. Alright, looking good. Just gonna wait for our oven to preheat. Bake this, bake the top with a little bit of coconut oil in there. And I'll see you soon. Alright, now that our bread bowl is done, take it out of the oven. Get our soup. Just gonna add that to the bread bowl. And we got our broccoli bread bowl soup. Alright, flour. We got our super huge, delightfully smelling broccoli cheddar bowl. Now to top this off, just get a little bit of our cheddar cheese. A little bit of fresh cut pepper. Smells good, huh? Last thing to do is just try it. We done did it again, flour. Delicious, crispy bread bowl. Broccoli super tender. The carrots. Recipe you can try.